Welcome to eBay Open. I'm sure it's like the 50th time you've heard that today. I'm Keith Metcalfe. I head up the lifestyle and luxury verticals. It's a bit of a hodgepodge. I've got sporting goods. I can see some of my favourite golf sellers in the room. I've got health and beauty. Looking for some health and beauty sellers now. Less loyal bunch, obviously. And then the authentication categories of, it's been videoed, isn't it? I love the health and beauty sellers, some of my favourites. And jewellery, handbags, watches, and sneakers, which is more about what we're going to talk about today. 7-year eBay veteran, but I still don't know everything. And a big part of today is like listening to you guys and hearing all about your experiences, which has been fantastic today. So what we're going to talk about today, I'm going to come up with a really snappy line, how eBay is enabling buyers and sellers to trade with confidence using authenticity guarantee. So strap in. So we'll do a bit of a recap. So those of you, the thousands of you that came to my talk last year will have heard some of the content. We'll talk a little bit about what authenticity guarantee is. We'll talk about the categories that we've rolled it out to. There's definitely some new stuff here versus 2021. The impact it's having on our customers, both in terms of metrics and experience for them. What that's doing for overall eBay perceptions and some new markets that we can get to talk to as a result. And then some of the activations we've done in media around this as well. So yeah, that's about it. And then at the end, we'll have time for questions. So the tougher your questions, the later we get to the bar. So that's the trade-off for you all to consider. And I'll try and answer some of the tough questions for you anyway. All right, so what is authenticity guarantee? So the reason that we do this is we know that buyers, the higher the price of the item, the more buyers are nervous, anxious about buying that product and what they might ultimately get, especially on a marketplace where it's not first-party retail. So you are taking a trust that the seller is going to have the right stuff on the other side. So we are, in certain categories, taking away that risk element for the buyer and also for the seller as well, so I guess importantly for the audience in this room. And how do we do that? So this is the process for handbags, but it's basically the same thing that we do in watches and in sneakers as well. So most of you, with the items that you sell, when you sell an item, you get the buyer's address and you ship that directly to the buyer. With authenticity guarantee, if the item is eligible for AG, as I'll abbreviate it from here on, we don't give the seller the buyer's address, we give them the address of our authentication centre in London. When the item arrives at the authentication centre, we do two main checks. We check a number of different things to get to that outcome, but one is the authenticity of the product. Has it come from the original manufacturer of that item? And the other one is, for those who are in the returns process, we do a SNAD check. So is the item as described? Providing it meets both of those criteria, we then ship that onto the buyer and eBay pays for that second leg of shipping. So we work with a range of different partners in handbags, and the handbags proposition. We've got 23 brands live. It's all handbags above £500 for those brands. And if you want to see some of the brands that we have, come and check out the yellow booth down in the cellar area for some nice products. So, and then if it passes those checks, we put it in a really nice eBay branded packaging, just so it's a really premium experience when it shows up to the buyer. We don't just do that, we do a few other things around it as well. So the other thing we have done for these authenticity guarantee teams, we've invested in a dedicated customer service team. So we've got something like 27 people based in Dublin who are specifically trained on authenticity guarantee, so that they know how to deal with sellers of higher priced items like watches and buyers, and kind of, you do need that extra expertise with these items and the different processes we put in. This all happens at no extra cost for the buyer or the seller today. There is one exception to that in the US, which is on watches. eBay doesn't charge for authentication for all watches above $2,000, but for the price tranche just beneath that, we give the buyer the option to pay for the service if they choose. So if it's like a $1,200 Omega, then we give them the option to pay an additional $100 if they want to get that checked out, which has been really popular as well. How do I know whether my item is qualifying for authenticity guarantee? It's the little blue circle roundel with the white tick in it. We use it for a number of different trust programs, so certified refurbished, direct from brand, authenticity guarantee, etc. So customers know and like it. It's also not that original. You might have seen similar things on other websites, so it's really kind of recognisable thing. Again, if the IP lawyers are watching, don't quote me on that. Okay, so what categories have authenticity guarantee? So as you can see from the flags, we've got different propositions live in different eBay markets. I've just kept this to our biggest 3 markets rather than going to like Canada and Australia where they've also got some stuff. So generally US is our biggest market. They often launch with things first, and that's been the case with authenticity guarantee. So the first category that we launched anywhere in the world was for watches in the US, which was in the 3rd quarter 2 years ago, so almost exactly 2 years ago. Actually, the first category in the UK launched a little bit later in the US, which was sneakers. That's sneakers above $100 in the US, sneakers above £100 in the UK. And we launched around about April last year. I know Murray said June earlier, but we a little bit earlier than that. So yeah, didn't tell the bosses until we were ready for the proposition. Then watches came a little bit after that in late Q3 last year. So we've been live over a year with watches as well, which has been really powerful. And then the newness this year has been handbags. So the US team launched handbags last year, and we launched handbags right at the end of March this year, so right at the end of Q1. And those of you who like to see a clairvoyant and predict the future, often what we're doing in the US is a good indication of what might come to the UK. So we have launched trading cards in the US, and we've also launched jewellery. And I'll tell you a bit more about jewellery, as that's one of the categories that sits with me as well. If you'd like to understand more about trading cards, go and check out the collectibles stand, which is the one on the far right-hand side down in the booths area. Handbags. So like I say, this is the newness for this year that we've bought for the UK. It's been really like one of those, you always hope that the numbers are going to be good, and yeah, very pleased with how this one's gone so far. I can't share you exact numbers. We'll give you some indication about how powerful this has been. The ladies you can see on the left-hand side, these aren't just random actresses that we've chosen. These are our authentication team. The great thing about our authentication team is they live and breathe the product. They really speak to the community when we use them in marketing, whether that be sneakers, watches, or handbags. And definitely the same is true of Magda here. And what is actually being authenticated to 23 brands. I won't name them. I'll say that's because time. It's really because I'll forget 1 or 2, but obviously Chanel, Louis Vuitton, Prada. It's basically the same list of brands that the US team has, but plus Mulberry as well, because that's so important for this market. And from those brands, it's everything above £500. In all of the categories, we exclude customized product because it's difficult for us to say that an item is customized, is authentic when it's been customized. Pause to see if any questions. There will be time for questions at the end. No? Good. All right. So what impact is this having? We've obviously invested a lot of money in a warehouse, in the authentication team, in the customer service team, in my team who have expensive habits, mentioning no names. So what are we getting from this? What are our customers getting from this? We've had some really pleasing results. And I guess you can guess that otherwise we wouldn't have kept on rolling out more categories after another. So generally the best way of telling if something is working at eBay is you'll keep on hearing about it year after year and it'll get bigger and bigger. And that's been the case here. So we did a survey. We do a survey twice a year of buyers in these categories and many categories to say, how do you rate eBay? And then you kind of like clench your buttocks as you open the results of these to see like, yeah, everyone in business sees this all the way up to the CEO. So it's quite a high stakes report when it comes out. And thankfully the February results of last year, I didn't need to worry about because I wasn't managing the category. So it was like, okay, 17% more buyers said that our competitors were excellent than they said about eBay in the watches category. Okay, a long way to go, a lot of improvement to be had. Fast forward, obviously it's going to get better, otherwise I wouldn't be telling you about it today. Yeah, and then a year later, it was much worse, and I've done a terrible job. No, a year later, Really pleased that actually customers, when they came back and fed back to us, is that 2% more buyers rated eBay as excellent versus our competitors. So it just shows you how important that additional trust and protection that we're putting for buyers into the product is. That's obviously the buyer side. Conscious I'm speaking to a room full of sellers, but obviously if the buyers are happy, the conversion comes in and the sellers benefit as well. The other thing I'll say about the seller side of things, which I think is really important to bear in mind, is we don't just do the authenticity check on the way from the seller to the buyer. We also do it for return products as well. So if the buyer's a bit cheeky and they want to buy a really nice watch, wear it to a wedding, and then try and send it back, if they've left some scratches on that product, we're going to find them because we take so many photos of these, and then we'll say, sorry buyer, we can see that you've been wearing this, and the return gets cancelled. Equally, if they try and do even worse than that and send a counterfeit product or a rock in a box, we catch that as well. So we're protecting the seller on the way back as well. So next number. So the stat from here is August. That's because the seller marketing team make me submit my presentation in August. It's not because the results have got worse in September, Wahaj, have they? No, okay, good. Yeah, woohoo, thanks, Meg. Good to have my hype lady here. Yeah, so we've got the highest ever number of high price sneakers listings that we've ever had on the platform. So again, the message is getting out there that eBay is a place to sell sneakers in the UK and elsewhere. And sellers are coming and they're selling their inventory because they know they're going to sell it through and they know we're going to have their backs. One more. So handbags, like I say, launched just a few months ago, and this has to go through like our comms team about what we can say. So this is really, I've tripped over how to explain this a number of times, so bear with me. But the year-over-year percentage growth that we had in the first quarter of this year, compare that with a quarter later, once we'd launched Authenticity Guarantee and gone and done some marketing behind that, the growth rate improved by 16 percentage points. And that's also up against probably worsening consumer confidence as the year has gone on. So again, we ask a lot from sellers with the Authenticity Guarantee program. That's definitely true. But the results are that the buyers come and shop with us in a bigger way. So that's the impact that we're having. There's loads of other great metrics that I'm not allowed to share. It took a while to get those three through the comms team. So what might be next? So Jewelry Authenticity Guarantee has launched in the US. Maybe you should just mention a little bit about who actually authenticates the products that we have. So it's different for each category because you need real deep category expertise to really know the product. So in watches, we partner with a business called Stolen Co. They're based in the US. They're a really, really big servicing business over there. And they've got a UK operation which does an incredible job at authenticating our watches. With sneakers, we partner with a business called SneakerCon, who, if you think about Comic-Con, it's that kind of thing, but for sneakers. We actually acquired their authentication business after about a year and a half of them doing that for us because we were so happy with the results we had with them. With handbags, we do that in-house, but with experts that we've brought in from kind of very knowledgeable expertise. I'm very excited that the partner that the jewelry team in the US are using is the GIA. So again, easy word for me to say, the Gemological, I think I've got that right, Institute of America. So these are the authority in diamonds and other stones, pearls, or whatever else. So really, really credible, non-for-profit partner who have the same mission as us to make sure that buyers and sellers of jewelry are able to trade in a safe way. And then it's actually a really nice story to go and tell in media channels. We found that these categories are often quite buzzy. So like sneakers is obviously a big trend, very popular with a younger audience, and sometimes eBay is ready to cut through. So I believe that we're even getting benefit from in all sorts of categories that have nothing to do with Authenticity Guarantee because of the ability to go out there with products that young people are interested in, youngsters are interested in, young people, like sneakers. I think there's also handbags really plays into that audience, and even watches now I think even though maybe a lot of young people can't afford to buy watches, there's a lot of enthusiasts who watch content on it, etc. So really helped us cut through with that customer. We've had really, really positive press and response from the communities in these categories, and also even in the tech press, such as Wired as well. So again, it isn't just about the benefit in these categories, it helps us kind of build trust for the overall platform as well. So this is more like a lecture part of it, so I'll rattle through. Did you have a question? Oh no, sorry. Any questions, I'm always welcome. So apart from Josh McWilliams at the back, because he's a troublemaker. So listing best practices. So the fact that we are checking the product, the trade-off that we have with this, right, is we've set the bar slightly higher for selling these products on eBay, which obviously kind of then adds in additional work that sellers are going to need to do. So wanted to talk a little bit around some of the best practices if you're thinking about getting into these categories. There's more text on here than I'll run through. So let's start with watches. I think I've seen this in 2 presentations already today, so I won't label the point, but the more photos, the better, especially with a product like a watch. So the example I think Sarah gave of a diamond ring earlier, £6,000, that's probably about the average price of these items, right? Especially if it's a Rolex. If it's a Patek Philippe, even more. So the more photos, the better. Describe, really take the effort to get across to the buyer what it is. There is imperfections. Buyers don't mind the fact there's imperfections. These are sought after items. The story of the product and the life it's had before is part of what makes the watch special. But just make sure that you detail those so the buyer is warned, and then when it comes to our authentication center, we can see those in the listings and we say, yeah, that's fine. Other things to bear in mind, think about the collateral that comes with the product. With these items, it is not just about the product, it's about the box that they come in. I'm sure you've bought, when you've treated yourself or partners have treated you to really nice items, that unboxing experience is lovely, and a lot of people keep those boxes as well. So just really take care of those and be really specific about whether or not you've got that original packaging and any other collaterals you might have, such as like paperwork, especially with watches. Really, really important. And then item specifics, it's not just about watches, right? But the more item specifics you can include, the more likely your item is to be found in search, the more likely it is to appear in filtered searches. So I'm sure you're all kind of on top of this, but very, very important for watches. Handbags. Not completely different game, right? It's not selling on eBay. There's so many commonalities here, but we've put on here what we would suggest a good title formula is. You can see up there, brand, product line, so it might be Mulberry, Alexa, what family it's from, and then attributes like color and material. Get those across in the title, can be really powerful. Handbags in particular is one to really talk about any wear or tear and any odor. It might be, if it smells like cigarettes, say it smells like cigarettes, right? So if it's got lipstick stains in there, say it's got lipstick stains in there. So otherwise, we'll find them. You won't be able to slip them past our authentication team. And again, buyers are forgiving if they know what's coming, and so it doesn't mean that the product won't sell. Again, talk about any accessories that come with it, and again, I'd say that the bit to really take care of photographing is the interior of a handbag. It's difficult, it's not easy, but take the time to make sure that we can see any wear and tear or marks from like lipsticks or whatever that will be on the interior. Jewelry. This is the category I'm definitely the least expert in. So I've got a new jewelry category manager that starts next week. I learned lots from a conversation with a jewelry seller in one of the breaks today. So everything on this slide is from my US team, so I probably can't talk with as much authenticity with the learnings that we have in jewelry, but we've got time to really kind of build our expertise in the team, including, like I say, a new hire that's coming next week. But again, similar sort of stuff. Make sure you get the condition across. Make sure you talk about the item specifics, such as the 4 Cs if it's a diamond, and let us know what warranty certificates, etc., are going to be included in there. And finally, sneakers. Again, lots on here. Thanks, Wahaj, for writing the slide. So yeah, again, a lot of similarities to what we've spoken before about how to get the item description across. Again, use the photos. All of these categories are very strong on mobile, as you would expect. It's, again, not unique to our categories, but think mobile first. I think I heard PJ from Velocity talk about this earlier on in one of the seller panels. Think about what it looks on mobile, that 250 characters within the item description that shows up on mobile. That's more important than having a really great desktop listing. All right, okay. So I think bar opens in 8 minutes. The raffle is in 28 minutes. So hopefully that's a strong finish to the day. Make sure you come along and check out the business awards and see which sellers are really kind of delivering some change in the world. And there'll be some nice stories. Bring your hankies. I'm sure there'll be a few tear jerkers. Thank you very much for coming today. And cheers.